Sweet Christmas.
Shout out to my birds.
Hello, hello, hello. This is Che.
This is Cory.
And this is the Next Time On podcast, a podcast where two lifelong friends talk about all the things they love and all the things they sort of liked, got it, enjoyed a little bit, didn't hate as much as everybody else seems to hate in popular modern culture.
You don't have to speak for me on things.
Okay, sorry. All right.
No, that's fine. I think I realized what you're alluding to, and I'm like, don't speak for me.
Okay, one of us then. It's basically, if it's your first time here, we're like Chris Ryan and Andy Greenwald, except we both love cartoons, and only one of us is balding. Is that fair, Cory?
I don't even know I don't know who the hell you just said. I don't know who those people are.
They are basically the older. No, they're not old. Let me not throw dirt on their names. They're the older white versions of us.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah, they work for The Ringer. Very celebrated TV film critics. They wouldn't call themselves critics, much like we wouldn't.
I do. I call myself a critic.
But they, one of them really hates cartoons.
That's fucked up and stupid. Sorry, you people. But that's the stupidest thing I've ever fucking heard.
The stupidest thing you've ever heard. It's the stupidest thing?
No, but it's up there.
Well, if you're here and you don't fucking hate cartoons, or even if you love cartoons, please consider rating us 5 stars.
Such a wild thing to say, though. It's just like,
I should have said anything. I knew I was going to set Cory off.
I don't like cartoons, like any cartoon ever. I just don't like it. Like, what a fucking weird thing to say. Okay, sorry.
Please consider rating us 5 stars. It will assuage Cory's seething rage at the moment, and it will really help us out. Helps new listeners find the podcast, and most importantly, we deserve it. Because we're the best.
I'm just saying, how are you on a popular podcast?
Seriously,
where you're talking about?
I shouldn't have said anything.
All these.
I think it's mostly a bit. I think it's that's not true. I think it's 51% a bit and 49% he doesn't like cartoons, and it's become a thing. And I regret even bringing it up.
Yeah, I mean that was a bad idea, honestly.
You can also find us at Next Time On Pod on all your social media platforms, and nexttimeon.net will have all of our archived writing, all of our past and future podcasts, all that good stuff, and most importantly, newly, you can find the YouTube channel, which will be linked in the description below. Go over there, drop a subscription, check out a video. You can see our beautiful faces. At the moment, it's just video versions of the same podcast you're getting on your podcast feeds, but in the future, there will be some exclusive video content once Cory and I have a good idea.
I'm working on it. Ideas are hard, all right?
Ideas are not easy, that's for sure. But we have a absolutely jam-packed episode. So we should get into it because we don't want this podcast to have to be a 2-parter like the last one was.
I just want to be mad though. Just let me be mad about this guy that I don't even know. Just
a name you have never heard before.
Never heard of it. I honestly I forgot his name. Like honestly, right now, just completely.
Well, even if you remembered his name, you don't know which one doesn't like cartoons.
Yeah, I don't. I remember either. Exactly. So that's very fair.
Let's go into the elevator pitch. I'm going to put a minute on the clock. If Cory's throwing me a curveball.
I just threw a curveball because I remember something else that I liked. Okay.
Well, while Cory's going to vamp for a second while I adjust the information on the slides.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of an asshole about that whole thing. But what an insane take to have, though. This is what's fucking bothering me.
I like cartoons, obviously.
Yes.
But I think I like cartoons way less than you do.
That's fair. I think I like cartoons. I like cartoons way more than a normal person.
So I think I could see the logical continuation of that, where I could get to the point where I just didn't want to watch cartoons anymore. Because honestly, cartoons are, for me, as much as I love them, they are the lesser of the visual mediums. I would much rather live action, basically 99 times out of 100. I could, if somebody was put a gun to my head and was
I disagree.
Which one not to watch, it would be easy.
Well, yeah, okay, I can understand that. I will agree with you on like between one and the other one.
But I think he's
insane
just
to
made the
me.
decision to be like.
That's fucking stupid. Like you're just
And
cutting
not just
yourself
he.
off from
I
like.
don't want to just be like, this is a Chris Ryan podcast now, which is fucking weird. But I think there are a lot of people who don't watch cartoons just because they're like, there's so much live action stuff that I haven't watched. It's the same reason I watch documentaries.
Hey, I'm gonna say hot take though. That's fucking stupid though. I'm just gonna put that out there though. There's a lot of really good cartoon based things that are better than a lot of shitty.
I absolutely agree with you. But that brings us to our elevator pitch. I'm going to put a minute on the clock. I'm going to pass it over to Corey. He's going to stop talking about Chris Ryan and start talking about something else. And
joke's on you. Who says I'm going to stop talking about this guy for a minute?
All right, well, if you spend 60 seconds talking about Chris Ryan, that's on you. But you have 60 seconds on the clock now. And whenever you're ready, Corey, go.
Okay, so the reason I like switched my answer last minute was because I was thinking about bits that we do for the show. So basically, I hate this comic book called Heroes in Crisis. It's written by Tom King, and it's one of the worst things I ever. And drawn by Clay Mann. Really bad book. All around is horrible. But basically, the thing that pissed me off the most is set up Wally West, like the Flash, as being a bad guy for a while. So back last year in March, I kind of fell off of the Flash book because it's been like mediocre to okay at best. And I kind of skimmed over it, but I heard good things about this writer called Jeremy Adams. And he started a new Flash run on issue 768. I basically bought all the issues and read them through in one go. Without spoiling too much, I think it reset the status quo in a really good way. The book's still continuing to be a really good ride, and it made Heroes in Crisis no longer relevant. I love a good old retcon. But yeah, Flash. It's a good book that's going on right now. But yeah, I started that because I'm like, I hate Heroes in Crisis, and I don't think that's a bit. It's just something that you say to piss me off. So, but I'm happy that it makes you happy. So that's the reason. That's the reason.
Once again,
it did pop into my head because of that.
Once again, Corey's tried to belittle the good name of the Shabazz clan. I don't really understand why. I never said I liked Heroes in Crisis. I said I don't hate Heroes in Crisis.
Which is, I think it's just a weird, another fundamentally bad
I think
thing.
there are interesting, fun ideas going on in that book that is ultimately a little bit of a mess, which I think reflects some of the things we're going to talk about today.
I think it's just a really bad why done it, because there is no, like, it's a who done it, but there's like, it doesn't matter at the end of it. And it's just like, oh, that's a dumb reason.
Yeah.
And then in the end, now it's like another writer's like, no, let's not even count that. Let's all forget about that. And I'm like, okay, now I can send Heroes in Crisis more, if that makes sense.
If for those of you who are watching the video, I forgot a word in there. It's Flash by Jeremy Adams, not Flash Jeremy Adams.
Yeah, and I would say an artist, but it bounces around a lot. But at least it's like that first arc leading into, I think, whatever 2021 annual for the Flash was just really, really good. Mm-hmm. And there's a character who's a combination between Booster Gold and Blue Beetle in the book. So, I mean, like, you know, that might have been a little bit of persuasion of my interest in it, but I digress.
Yeah, I'll have to add it to the ever-expanding list of DC comic books that are, like, in their hundreds that I just probably...
It's just, like, it's nice because, I mean, we read so many really good Elseworlds DC books. It's just, like, nice. I'm like, oh, they actually have, like, some main continuity books that are, like, really good. And I feel like this one's kind of being, like... I forgot about it entirely, so...
It's a very different skill to write a Elseworld book than it is to write a...
in continuity, yeah.
In continuity, yeah.
But
yeah, we're going to talk about an Elseworld book today that I think...
we're talking about only Elseworld books.
Is it only Elseworld books? I think you're right, actually. Now that I look at it. Or original, image
Yeah,
books.
original Elseworld. Nothing. We're not really talking about anything in continuity today.
God, I wish Six Sidekicks was canon.
We'll talk about that, but I'm wondering if this is just a one and done.
Yeah. All right, my elevator pitch. I'm getting into the elevator. It's me and Chris Ryan in there. I'm going to pitch him. At 1 minute on the clock, and
people can see my face again.
The thing that I'm pitching is the Hulu miniseries, Dope Sick, starring a cast way too long to list in my minute on the clock that I forgot to start. So I'm cheated a little bit. Sorry.
This is horseshit.
It's a cast that is too stacked for me to list all of them, but it is by Danny Strong, who's most famous for the writer and co-creator of Empire, a show that I think is bad, which is why I was shocked that Dope Sick is actually really well made. It is a little bit melodramatic, the same way that Empire was, but I think that works when you're talking about the Purdue pharma industry and their OxyContin. The most frustrating part about it is that it is mostly based between the years of 1997 and 2005, and unless you guys are unaware, this is the year 2021, and Purdue is still alive and kicking. So we know the bad guys don't lose in the TV show, but even still, very well acted, very well written. Like I said, very slickly made, excellent to watch if you're looking for a real rage-inducing fun time.
Yeah, I'm always about that.
It is. I mean, listen, it's rage-inducing in that the world is rage-inducing, but it's I don't know. I find it to be eerily fun in a way that I can't really describe. Because yes, it is about the horrors of the OxyContin crisis, the opioid crisis in general. It follows a series of different characters throughout, like they said, that span of 10 to 12 years. And most of the stories are either tragic or about evil people. And yet, I mean, it's sort of inexplicable to me why I'm having such a good time watching it. I binged a lot of it this last week because I'd fallen behind. I think there are 2 more episodes to go. I don't remember. I don't know exactly how many, but I think there's 7 out right now. So, your boy Michael Keaton's in it.
Ah, I like Michael Keaton.
And Rosario Dawson plays a badass DEA agent. So
I think she just plays a badass everything in every role that she's in. It's kind of it's a good role fit for her. I mean, I would love to kind of just sit in that typecasting.
That's a good point. Is there a I guess she was in Rent, which I won't admit to have ever seen
I've never seen
version of Rent. But I know the play, and there's not a lot of badasses in Rent, so I guess she probably wasn't a badass. She probably had AIDS and didn't pay her rent.
I mean, that's honestly
the plot of Rent.
That's the plot of New York.
That's the plot of New York?
No, it's not.
All right. Well, like I said, we do have a jam-packed social. We might as well jump into the meat of it. For those of you who are watching the video, you might be able to read my shirt. I'm looking at the colors on the screen, and it is a little hard to pick up. But what we will be talking about is the newest film by writer-director, just all-around weirdo, lovable weirdo, though, Wes Anderson. This is The French Dispatch, starring all of your favorite white people and
Jeffrey Wright.
And Benicio del Toro.
Yes. I actually did clock on that. I'm like, 2 people of color in this movie.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah. There's some Asian people, too. So let's not...
Main casting.
We already had our Wes Anderson's probably
one.
not racist conversation. Sorry. But Corey, I love this movie. I talked about how, I love Wes Anderson. But you were the one that was like, I really want to talk about it. Is there something you specifically wanted to talk about French Dispatch?
I think, well, first off, I like the film as well. And I'm usually not a big fan of vignettes. And I think one of my always criticisms with vignettes is that when you have one that's not as strong as the others, I feel like it takes the film down a little bit of a notch. But I guess it's like just telling an incomplete story.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, so this the French Dispatch is told in 4 different stories, right?
I think there's 3
main articles
stories.
And a obituary is how the opening
and an intro
goes. Yeah. So it's like 3.5 stories.
It's but it's pretty much, it is the New Yorker if it was a movie. I also
and weirdly and randomly set in what was it, Kansas?
No, it's set, it's set in France.
Well, yeah, but sorry, the newspaper, the magazine's in Kansas.
Yeah, it's right? It's a Kansas, it's like the Kansas.
Which I don't know why he bothered doing that.
But it was silly. Yeah, it's dumb. It was like a really weirdly convoluted.
There's no paper and letters in Kansas unless they're eviction notices.
No, exactly, and it just doesn't make any. But yes, basically, it is New Yorker, the movie. I was reading an article about him. He did an article, he did an interview in the New Yorker, and basically he owns every issue of the New Yorker that exists. That's just something that he did.
That sounds right.
That's just something that he has done. And it was a very interesting read and understanding why he decided to make this, and also you can kind of looking at the end of the movie, he listed all of those article writers, and you kind of, it does make sense as kind of a way to contribute voices, especially it's a very much a movie about writing. And I love
it claims that it's a movie about journalism, and I think a lot of the reviews I read were like an ode, a love letter to journalism. I sort of, in a way, there's one that's more about journalism than the others, but I think you're more right. This is a love letter to writers.
Yeah, that's what
which I think is fine. But I also
yeah.
don't know why people are framing this like it's a love letter to journalism. The Post was a love letter to journalism.
Yeah, this was like, to me, like, I mean, also the way the story was told, I think like only one of them was very purely like, this is an article that we're like listening to.
Yeah.
At least like the middle one with Timothée Chalamet. That to me at least was like, this read like an article.
Yeah.
I mean, this like watched like an article, but like, I mean, like,
it's also, I think, the most preposterous of them.
yeah, and I think I'm gonna start with criticisms because I want to just kind of start like, fawning over this movie. So I wasn't a huge fan of. So the movie's broken into, like, as Che said, a few different parts, but the main three plots are, we have Benicio del Toro, and I mind me trying to pronounce her name, Che. Can you say her name for me?
Leah Seydoux. Thank
you. As an artist, an artist in prison, and I guess we'll dive more into that in a second. Then we have a second plot line of a student revolution starring Timothée Chalamet and Frances McDormand, and then a third plot line basically with Jeffrey Wright and a bunch of other people.
Yes, like a bunch of other people.
A bunch of other people. It's like hard to be like, his was a bit more, like his was such like so much more, like so many more people in it.
And contained by far my favorite part of the movie, which was a cartoon.
Just saying. I mean, if anybody like, Wes Anderson can get away with doing any medium. I mean, he's made 2 stop motion films. Like, who the fuck does that?
And I think there's an argument that those are 2 of his best films. I know people ride for Tannenbaums, and I love Tannenbaums.
Not a big Tannenbaums fan.
I have rewatched it since, like, when it first came out, I was like, I didn't know comedies could be like this, and that was just really exciting for me. But I have since rewatched it, and it is true that for me, the second and third time doesn't hit. And I also just, a lot of times I'm watching, I'm like, why am I not just watching a Wes Anderson movie I like more? The only Wes Anderson movie I think I'm not like madly in love with is the Darjeeling Limited, but it's like, that's like peak white people shit. Like, I just don't know if it's a movie that I'm supposed to like.
Yeah, I think I've like been constantly dissuaded from watching that one. Not really on purpose, but like I just like, every time I'm like, I want to watch a Wes Anderson movie, I'll usually just pick one I've already seen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's sitting there, and I can watch it whenever. I just haven't gotten to it just yet.
I think you have to really, really like Jason Schwartzman to like the Darjeeling Limited. And I like Jason Schwartzman. I just don't really. It's a lot of him. It's a lot of him in that movie.
That's an excellent point. I'm like, I don't know how much I like Jason Schwartzman. I like Jason Schwartzman, but I don't know how much I like Jason Schwartzman.
Have you seen Rushmore?
No, I haven't watched those original ones. Like, I haven't watched Bottle Rocket either.
It's kind of the part. It's like the worst parts of Rushmore are amplified in Darjeeling Limited, I would say.
Got it. I mean, I definitely do plan to kind of go back. And I mean, it's when I finished French Dispatch, I was like, I'm going to go watch. I haven't gone to do it yet, but I'm going to watch all of these other films. Just because of how interesting I thought French Dispatch was. So I'm going to get the one criticism I had out of the way. I didn't like the second one. I did not like the Timothée Chalamet and Frances McDormand one. I felt that it was bookended by 2 really strong ones. And I guess, like, to me, I mean, I took away from it. This is just story. I mean, we can talk about the other aspects of it as well in a second. But at least from the storytelling perspective, I kind of felt like that one was the weakest. But I think the point of the article was just teenage revolt or just kind of revolution in general, where it just spirals out of control, where no one really knows what the fuck we're doing anymore.
Yeah.
And like trying to get down to the brass tacks of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, when that one finished, and I was like, I thought I liked it, but I was just like, I was surprised how much I was very much like, that was okay. And thankfully Jeffrey Wright's story just like pretty much just brought me back in so quickly that I was just like, oh, this is great. I'm already into it. But what do you think about the middle one?
I think the biggest problem with the middle one is, and like I said, it's the most absurd. I think it's too absurd. I think it crosses the line of, and obviously all Wes Anderson movies are a little fairy tale-ish. They have this element of fantasy and frivolity throughout them, even when things are seemingly very serious, in which this middle story is supposed to be like about these children that come home from war and have been like broken by the PTSD they've suffered. One of them commits suicide in a play scene that I thought was, again, very weird, like why he did that.
I don't know what I think it was just, I was just so like lost in all of it that like it was,
I think the most frustrating part was for me. This is a dumb criticism. Don't get me wrong, but it does sort of show the like slapdash way that I think he approached the tone of that one. Is that the chess match that they're playing? Which one? Why are they having a chess match to settle this war? None of the moves make any sense. He like is just making random moves. He's saying things that aren't like, he's saying like notation that's not chess notation and stuff. And
I was gonna ask you about that because I was watching him like Che probably knows his, like I was trying to do it because I'm not very good at like knowing the piece, like the names by numbers. I don't know that yet. Yeah. Admittedly, but I was like, I feel like Che's gonna fucking hate this.
I guess there probably was a time in which people said stuff like bishop to queen 3 or something, but like you hear that all the time in movies. That's not how people. You would say like E3.
It would be like, yeah, that's what I was thinking too. And
yeah,
I'm like,
queen 3 is not a thing he was saying.
Yeah, I was trying to figure the fuck out, but yeah, that was also like a bit. I like the way that they portrayed both those scenes. I like the intro scene where they're just playing chess in that library, and even like during the revolution, where I'm like, why are they doing this?
Yeah, I will say, in direct opposition to my criticism of the second one, I think it's the most visually interesting. Agreed. I think he takes the most, it's impossible for me to separate the narrative and the visual aspects of Wes Anderson's movie because they're so intertwined. So much of even his storytelling is about like the visual nature of it, and I just love the way that looks. And it's I think the Timothée Chalamet and Frances McDormand performances are so good. Yeah, and
I think I agree with you because I feel like that one was such like that one. The set pieces in that one were so cool. I just remember like finishing that part, and I'm like, I love the transitions. The play scene was like ridiculous, but I'm like, this is a cool way to like.
It just looks really.
It looked like it was really interesting, but I think the one thing that was weird with that scene is the weird transition into it. Then after it was over, I'm like, who was the person that we're supposed to be taking?
Yeah,
I didn't understand that, and then
connect the. Yeah, but I think that's kind of the point because I don't think in that movie. I think the flip side of that is if we actually see this guy commit suicide in a non-stage version of that story.
Well, yeah, no, that would make it way too. That would mess up. But I was just like, I was wondering because like the guy comes back from being like in this, I guess, war. I'm not entirely sure exactly what it was, but like in like this ROTC. I
guess it's supposed to be World War II or World War One. If it's supposed to be a real war at all.
So I know
timing wise of the movie, I think that makes the most sense, right?
Yeah, because I know the movie ends, I believe, in 1975. I think there's like I think it's 75. I think.
So then probably not World War II then, unless that was supposed to be 30 years in the past.
I don't know.
But Frances McDormand is not like 30. She didn't even try to pretend like she was 30 years older. So I just don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But again, that is not a point that the movie is concerned about. It's not a point
exactly.
The watchers
there's a war that people. It was basically like French Vietnam. Mm. I think that was kind. I was kind of taking that away from it. That's what I kind of took away from it. I don't know. I think like even saying that out loud, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, and it was. I wish it was clearer, and I know that's such like a.
It's one of the few times I've left a Wes Anderson movie and thought to myself, I need to watch this again. Not that I like want to watch it again. I think that's a two-view film at the minimum.
Absolutely,
to really understand what's going on. It's very complex in a lot of ways that a lot of his other movies I don't think really have been.
I don't think any of his other movies are as dense visually as well. Where I'm like trying to pay attention to the story in all parts. Where I'm going to pay attention to the story, but I'm like, there's so much cool shit happening around this that like I want to stop and look at it.
Yeah.
That I'm just getting like lost in the moment of things. Like when Jeffrey Wright's doing his monologue throughout I know I was gonna jump around, but this only like when he's like walking through the police station, and I was just like trying to pay attention to what he was saying, but also like all of the scenes and his transitions through it were so cool. I'm like, what did he just say? I feel like I just fucking missed what he was just talking about right there.
Yeah.
Because I kept on getting so lost in it.
Yeah, I have become spoiled by the for a while, about a year and a half. I could basically go see. If I could go see a movie in the theaters, I could just go home and then put that movie on my TV and rewatch parts of it that I wanted to. I did that with Dune. I was like, I left Dune and I went home and I was like, I really want to check out that one scene again. And it's just on HBO Max. Now we're back to the good old days where I have to wait 6 months till I can watch this movie at home. But
I downloaded the screenplay, so I read the screenplay for this. Like,
I might need to do that. That's a good call.
Yeah, it's on Amazon. I bought it for $10, I think, but on my Kindle. But yeah.
there are parts of especially the 3 acts that they feel very like, I think the whole point is supposed to feel disconnected, but they're obviously referential to each other, and there's visual references between the 3 that I was picking up like slight reference to, but again, it's something that you have to go through. His visually his movies have always been very complex, but this is the first, like I said, this is the first time I've seen a film that made me think, I think I need to go back and rewatch this to really understand like the character development. And it's entirely possible that I'll be reporting back to you guys at the end of the year lists and telling you that The French Dispatch is my favorite movie of the year because I went back and like everything clicked. So even like you were saying, there are parts in the first act, the one where Benicio del Toro is a painter who's locked away in prison. There are parts in that where it's so overwhelming visually that, like you were saying, I just like sort of had to skate over plot
some
devices.
of it. Yeah. It's just like some of them, like I'm like, I don't, okay, sure, just like kind of just things are happening at me, and it was just like you're telling me things that are happening, but it's just like so like it's like not even a criticism, it's just one of those, it's just like you gave me too much of both to the point where I need like to take a second and focus on one or the other. But no, I mean, and also I think I really enjoyed, since we're talking about it now, the Guillermo del Toro one. I thought that one was really fun.
I think Guillermo del Toro is certainly the most fun of them. Yes,
and I think like it's funny. I never really realized how good of like a face the Guillermo del Toro like had for like this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And also like Leo like Sado. Fuck, I'm sorry, Miss Lady. That you listen to. I'm sure you listen to our podcast, and it's
she's never even heard of us.
cursing at me in French, I'm sure. But like, yeah, like I think like both of them were just very much like, oh, I'm surprised you guys have not been in one of his movies beforehand.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of people that are first time Wes Anderson, and obviously he returns to some of his favorites too. But there's a lot of first time Wes Anderson actors in this that I hope we get more of them in. In his movies going forward.
I think Jeffrey Wright needs to be in every one of Wes Anderson movies as a narrator, as somebody, but like him just reading the dialogue that he put down is just like, it's one of those things I didn't realize how perfect it was until it was happening.
Yeah, he's Jeffrey Wright's he's also just the kind of guy that I could just watch him sort of do anything.
Yeah,
and the fact that he was in this very weird, very beautiful and stylistic Wes Anderson movie just feels so perfect and fitting, and made me really wish he'd been in like the Grand Budapest Hotel, which I think is the other. It feels like a prequel to this in a way, at least.
In a sense, I agree.
Visually very similar.
They felt like they were
quite similar too.
They felt like I could have read about the Grand Budapest Hotel in The French Dispatch. I felt like they could have like made like a hotel review.
Yeah.
Of that in The French Dispatch. And I like that they included the actor who plays Zero in this for that brief visual change into him being in jail for 10 years. That was very stupid, but it was very funny.
And also, I liked the reference. I like that I like the records who return to actors. I think that's pretty cool because you can see sort of these like connected ideas they have for the types of actors. But it was confusing because he does not look a little bit like Benicio del Toro. And there was a time, it was like when the flashback first started happening, I was like, I'm sorry, who's this character and why? Like, why are they on screen?
They kept on telling
and then
you,
find out you're supposed to be like Benicio del Toro in the past. It's like, in what past?
And like 10 years in prison did this to him?
Turned him into a different human being. Yeah, I guess so.
Also, I think a runner-up to me for that scene was this, like, or at least the unsung hero for that first act was definitely Adrian Brody.
Yes.
Oh my God, what a performance in like so little.
Also, what a great character. Somebody who is confidently stupid is like one of my favorite types of characters.
But wait, no. You think he's stupid?
He doesn't know anything about art. That's the best part of his character.
I love it. No, I love it though. It's such a
I guess he knows he doesn't know anything about art though, so I guess that makes him not stupid. He knows what he doesn't know. So maybe stupid might not be the right word, but he's just
they definitely seem like the stand-in to me for like producers of things.
Critics and producers, yeah. I mean, there's
it's like the people who are like, I get money out of you. I have no idea what you do. But I love that though. He's like, is this art? I don't know, but we're gonna make it art. And I think like that was just so like that little storyline was so much fun to me. And his the introduction when they go back to the prison and he's painted it on the thing, and him going from "this is amazing" to being like, "you fucking asshole." And their hug in the end was just so like weirdly like wholesome after he chased him around the room in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Oh,
A weirdly violent segment of the movie. We get the prisoners coming in to like, if it was a different movie made by a different director, to bloodily murder everybody in that room. But of course it's Wes Anderson, so we
everyone
see, like,
everyone was
comical
fine.
fist fighting. Like it's like basically a food fight.
It's very funny, like, and I hate talking about myself. That's a fucking lie. But I hate bringing myself up. I was in a writing class once, and like I was writing down a scene, and it was like, on paper it was like a group of like high schoolers, where it's a group of like the older field hockey girls are beating the shit out of like a bunch of like freshman dork kids who were trying to play football. And I wrote it out in my mind. I'm like, this would be funny. It's like silly. It wouldn't be like serious. And like, I had a criticism. I'd be like, this is way too violent. And I'm like, it's just like, you could show that scene, let's say like that same exact like written down scene, and like give it to different directors, and you would get so many different results based on what like was probably written down for this, like for that scene. Yeah. Essentially. But I mean, that's the one thing about Wes Anderson though. Like he can like have an adult movie feel, I don't want to say childish, whimsical.
Yeah.
Like, cause like, what do we have in this movie? We have like a prison riot, a revolution, and a kidnapping.
A suicide. We already touched on that.
Yeah, suicide. I mean, there's a lot of like very like dark things. I mean, Owen Wilson's character, when he's talking about the small city they live in, mentions the fact that you can find a body a week. Yeah. Or, like, they fish like a body a week out of the fucking river. I'm like, what the fuck?
That opening monologue about what was it called? Ennui is that the name of the city? It was something kind of dumb that I don't think anybody besides Wes Anderson could have got away with.
It was very silly. Hold on.
I think the city is called Ennui, is what I'm pretty sure.
You're probably right.
But yeah, the opening monologue about it basically paints Gotham. Like it's French Gotham is the city that he's describing.
It's like French Gotham, but it's just like told by like Owen Wilson. So you're just like, oh, this is silly.
Yeah.
Shit. What the fuck is this guy's name? Sazerac. That's his fucking name. Owen Wilson's, yeah. Ennui.
Yeah.
E-N-N-U-I.
Mm-hmm. And again, like, I think, fittingly, the only other person I know besides you that's seen this movie, they came to me and they were like, this movie's boring. And I kind of think that's if you are not as taken with his visual approach and the way the types of performances he gets out of actors, I could see how Wes Anderson movies might instill a sense of ennui in you, because kind of nothing happens in a way that I find very beautiful and interesting. But if you are in the market for fast moving plot, these are never going to be the kinds of movies for you. No. And I think this is one of the most Wes Anderson-esque Wes Anderson movies I've seen in quite a while.
I mean, it's just like very visually, and like all the characters are just like, they're not people, but like, but I think, because I feel like we've been talking about this for a while, so I'll kind of like at least for me, this is gonna be my last point about it. Just like kind of the Jeffrey Wright, part where he's in the jail cell and Bill Murray's character comes to post his bail. Mm-hmm. And like there's just like that small little scene where like he like lets a teardrop come out of his eye when he was describing why he's there, basically. And like Bill Murray being like, I'm gonna get you out and I'm also gonna give you a job, more or less. And it was just like a really quiet moment, but it wasn't like, it didn't feel like it was Wes Anderson, but I think like it made that scene and made that like that part of the film. And Che, as you mentioned, like you're like the animated part also kind of is a very good like bow in that. I felt like that entire segment was so emotionally overwhelming to the point where I'm wondering if their intention was to make this one the last one, because there's a lot of emotional weight I feel like that's like kept in the last one. The first two are like kind of silly and like this was fun, but I'm not at least too concerned about it. I mean, the first one does involve like a very like a love that can never be continued. The second one involves
not even continue, like a quite literally unrequited love. I mean, there's that sort of heartbreaking scene where there's like next to each other, she says, "I don't love you." It's like, I mean, she can't love him. Obviously, she's a prison warden in the prison that he is sent to, what was it, life for, right? For murder?
Yeah, but he does get out.
Yeah.
But like they both get out at the same time, but it very much seems like they don't stay together after that. It seems like she kind of left, and apparently
The Wes Anderson classic.
And apparently he hooks up with Guillermo del Toro's hooked up with Tilda Swinton at some point. Didn't expect that one as a very quick. Woo! This is not one you see with your parents, ladies and gentlemen. Oh man, this is also his most rated R film I think he's put out.
Yeah,
Unexpectedly.
I'm trying to remember if there's been nudity in a Wes Anderson movie before. I'm sure there must have been.
I think there has been, but like this was like I think this was the one that was like more like, oh, this I didn't know this was rated R. Then I'm like in my mind I'm like, are his other films always rated R? Besides the animated ones, obviously, but I'm like, I guess some of
Grand
them
Budapest Hotel is also R, but I think for
language,
yeah,
yeah, because they definitely say fuck a lot, in that and a bunch of other slurs,
yeah,
but yeah, I loved it. I thought the Jeffrey Wright part I think the Jeffrey Wright act was my favorite one.
Yeah, agreed. It's been a great run of movies recently, I have to say. Dune, The French Dispatch, The Last Duel. What other things did I see? Last Night in Soho. I didn't love that, but it was fun. Kind of like the movies are really back and kicking.
Yeah, I mean, like, and I know I think you don't have as much of affinity for it as I do, but I did like, at least for Eternals to be as weird as it was, I was very much like happy.
Listen, I enjoyed the experience of watching Eternals. We will talk about more in depth my feelings on the actual film that is Eternals in a second. But now,
can I read you my last my favorite quote from the movie?
Yeah, go for it.
As this is Jeffrey Wright's character, Robot Wright, as he's going to the police station. It was nigh impossible to locate, at least for this reporter, a weakness in cartography, the curse of the homosexual. I don't know what that means.
It's the only time in the movie I laughed out loud because it doesn't. It was just such a silly, ridiculous line.
It's like, what?
Of all the things people say about gay people, all the things homophobes have invented about gay people, they don't have a great sense of direction. It's not really on the list, but I loved it. It was like invented a new slur.
I think it's also just a very good way of using dialogue to be like, this character's gay, but it's like it's introduced in such a very silly way that it's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You didn't even need to include it because you do the second scene with him in the prison cell, but just a way to get into it. Very silly. But yeah,
it's a good character. It's great. If you haven't seen The French Dispatch, definitely go check it out because we're seeing. I think it's definitely still in some theaters.
I don't even think it's been out a month. Yeah.
But movies are going in and out of theaters much faster.
Yeah,
now,
fucking
I think
Bond,
at the
Bond
moment
just came out on.
Yeah, people are trying. I mean, studios are still trying to get to in-home rentals as fast as possible at the moment, just because
it's smart.
You still if you check the box office for French Dispatch, it only made $23 million, which, is not good, but also you have to measure that in the COVID era, and also movies like this, they get re-released after the Oscar nominations. Now, this might not get the Oscar nominations, but I'd be surprised.
I'd be surprised. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I would absolutely.
We'll see some actor nominations. I think.
I don't think it's gonna win anything, but I definitely would be surprised if this doesn't pop up at the Oscars.
No, Wes Anderson does not make movies that win Oscars. He just makes movies that get nominated for Oscars, which I think he's fine with.
But I think, unfortunately, our buddy with Dune does not get nominated for Oscars because fuck the Academy.
This is his most Oscar bait movie, though. I think.
I hope it gets nominated.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's move on.
Yes, please.
We are deep into this bitch.
How dare you talk about things that I like?
Up next is Young Justice.
See, every once in a while I get to trick Che into talking about superhero cartoons with me, so double down.
Well, listen, I'm not going to be much help in this conversation because I am 4 seasons behind. I watched the first 5 episodes or 4 episodes of the first season, but this one's on you, Corey. You go for it.
I think the reason I wanted to bring this up, and I feel like when we first started this podcast, it was in the state where this show was canceled.
That's right. This is the one that got canceled.
Yes, Young Justice. This got canceled. I think in I'm not gonna look it up right now. I think 2011, 2012. This is it didn't last until it definitely wasn't around come 2013, and it had 2 seasons that came out. and I thought they were 2 really good seasons. But like, I mean, kind of shit like that doesn't really work out, especially for like kids cartoons that actually kind of keep us a consistent storyline. But then it got brought back by DC. Anybody remember DC Unlimited? I do. I had a subscription. That was just only I had a subscription.
I didn't even have a DC.
I had a subscription
so
for
like...
cause for this show, honestly, like specifically to watch this show. And then
wasn't
Titans?
No, not
Doom
Titans.
Patrol.
There was another thing that you liked that was also on there.
Doom Patrol.
Was Doom Patrol ever on DC? I thought it was only ever on HBO Max.
No,
HBO.
it was Doom Patrol was only on DC.
No, I guess you're right because the first season came out before HBO Max existed. Right, of course.
Yeah. So I had it for those 2 shows only, basically. And the 3rd season was like good. And so now we find ourselves in the 4th season. Like, it's crazy. Like, there's only been 4 seasons in the span of like 10 years. It's a very strange like.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Wikipedia article now. So basically, the first season is from 2010 to 2012. Classic cartoon shit. 26 episodes first season. Then the second season is 2012 to 2013, 20 episodes. And then season 3, which is on DC Universe, split into 2 13-episode halves. And that's from January 2019 to August 2019. So yeah, it's a massive gap.
The production is fucking it's shit.
Well, so I started because Corey was like, put it on the rundown, or I was like, I'll watch it. I was like, I just assumed cartoon superhero show. I can't possibly need to watch the first 3 seasons. So I just started with episode 1, and there's like a scene where 2 characters that I don't recognize are talking to each other without moving their mouths, talking about how he saved the world, but also he had to go into hiding or something. And I'm like, all right, I guess I gotta watch the first 3 seasons. This bitch.
Which I know.
have no idea what's going on.
I think that's the reason I actually like stayed with the show. If it was just like one of those like one and done, like random one-off episodes kind of situations.
The way the original Justice League was. Like it was just mission of the week type stuff.
Mission of the week, exactly. But I think I like this show so much because it was the start of like it was like starting the starting point where like cartoons can actually have a storyline. And you can actually be like, I will be lost week to week if I miss something. I mean, I think this also helps. Like, it was in the DVR age. Remember that shit? Oh my god. Damn.
Corey, we're not that.
I know, but I heard Neo on the old school radio station yesterday when I was in a fucking Uber, and it really fucked me up. Honestly, I'm still a little messed up over it. I digress.
Is Neo? I mean, okay,
it's been a while.
That seems like a loose definition of old school. It's been
I'm not just
10 years.
It's been longer than 10 years, Jay.
When was Neo? Was Neo out when we were middle school?
It was so sick, and I think that was from middle school.
I just have to. I haven't really thought about Neo in a very long time.
I didn't have to think about it until yesterday, Chang, and I was like, old school, what? But no, I just kind of want to give like it like as like kind of my extended elevator pitch. So we keep on talking about like how DC does like Elseworlds basically, like, and that's like kind of become their best things where like a writer will be like, you have this foundation, I want to keep on exploring it in my own rules, and I think that's what a kind of a very like interesting experiment that Young Justice is where it kind of comes in with the pitch of being like, it's just the sidekicks, but the way they've like told the story, I think it's like spanned 10 years at this point from like its first season, and they just kind of have a very good use of like organic storytelling from season to season to kind of find where it is now. And it's a sense of like, I'm very impressed by how it was able to come back in the first place, but also like the way that they've like aged up their characters and their arcs, and it feels very organic and well done.
Well, I think I can't speak to the reboot, but I trust what you're saying. So I think shows often make this mistake, and we've seen it recently where every streaming platform needs to take their IP and turn it into a reboot. I mean, Peacock has rebooted like 45 different shows, and Paramount Plus has also rebooted 1,000 different shows, including iCarly. And we will eventually see a reboot of the things that we really loved as kids. Like, I'm sure there's going to be some Harry Potter shit soon.
That's fine.
But I think what my point was that like people usually make the mistake of forgetting that your audience has aged.
Yeah.
And bringing back a thing. Now, there is an argument to be like, I loved iCarly as a kid. Not I. the royal eye have liked iCarly as a kid, and
I didn't.
no, I didn't like iCarly. Don't put that on me. I was a Sweet
that.
Life and Zach and Cody guy till the day I died.
I was a Drake and Josh guy until Drake went to fucking jail because he's a bad guy.
But basically, to be like, those people have had kids now, so let's make a show they can watch with their kids is something that makes sense. I understand the business part of that, but I mean, I just think it's way more interesting to like. It's been 10 years, it's been 20 years, it's been however many years. Let's make a show that takes into the account the fact that our audience has aged with us. Yeah. And let's do something maybe interesting. Let's try something interesting for once.
And it's like, it's really kind of fun to look at it too, because I didn't think about it till just now, Che, but like, I guess I was in like late high school when the first show was first coming out and the characters were like 15, 16, whatever. Mm-hmm. And now, like 10 years later, the characters are like my age now.
Right.
And I think that's a very like kind of like a very fun way to look at things where they've, especially when with the third season, you were like, what on streaming platform? They can be like, oh, we can say shit and stuff now. Doesn't fucking matter. We can do whatever the fuck we want, basically.
Have you watched the second season of Evil yet?
Yes.
Are they so like hot swapping in fucks for no reason?
So I think in the third season of Young Justice, they didn't really do it they have not really done in the fourth season, thankfully. But the third season of Young Justice is like fucking brutal with its violence.
Yeah.
Where like not Invincible bad, but it's like, why are you showing me this? Jesus fucking Christ, this was a kid's show.
Yeah.
But now it's not anymore.
As long as Batman doesn't fuck one of his pseudo children in the TV show, I think I'll be okay.
Well, there was a scene between him and.
Don't do that.
I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. So like, this is the universe where people aren't creepy. It's fine.
I still cannot believe they thought.
I cannot believe they did that. Yeah, no, I cannot believe they did this. Did that. But it's like, to me, I think Young Justice, probably my last point. I think Young Justice is the best version of the DC universe I think like I've seen. Where it's like lets the characters age, it tells a really good story. I like the changes they did with certain characters, in their interaction with one another. It's just like it's a very cool like you can do whatever the fuck you want with these characters, and they did it in a way to make it feel familiar, but also made decisions that made it feel better.
Yeah, agreed.
Only thing that bothers me is Jesse McCartney keeps voicing Nightwing, and it's like fine when he's a child, but like when he's an adult and he still sounds like Jesse McCartney, even though Jesse McCartney is obviously an adult. It's a little weird.
Yeah, I always find the voice acting in those shows is usually more lackluster than in some other.
I will say that
in superhero shows in general is more.
This show is very. I think the show is very consistently good with his voice acting. It's just like his voice is like this when he's 14, and then he's like 20, and it's like my voice is still up here. I'm like, no. Your voice should have went down at some point. But I mean, hey, listen, whatever. Maybe Nightwing wants to be in a boy band one day. Who am I to judge?
Is that like the Jesse McCartney?
Jesse McCartney.
Good for him, you know.
Hey, listen,
actually, I guess not good for him, but
I don't know. I think
better than unemployment for him, I suppose.
At the time, it was weird to me that he was like Robin. And I'm like, this is a weird choice. Why is Jesse McCartney here? Now, many years later, I'm like, oh, I guess Jesse McCartney's not really doing much.
Yeah, I mean, Jesse McCartney was like famous when we were in elementary school. Like it's been a while. So.
Yeah, it was like weird for him to be in the cartoon. I'm like, why did you pick him?
Oh,
like,
apparently Jesse McCartney just dropped an album last month. So
okay, cool.
Egg on our face.
Hey, seriously, whatever. Hey, good for you, Jesse McCartney. I don't hate your Nightwing. I just for some reason Jesse McCartney just made my phone register Hey Siri for some reason.
Jesse McCartney, Hey Siri. It's close enough. Anything else to say about Young Justice before we take a quick break?
Go watch it. So if people watch it,
some of the shit in our rundown.
Probably. Go watch it so I can keep getting more seasons of it. Yeah. That's about it.
That's the only reason you should watch it. Yeah, it's not because it's good or because you might enjoy it. It's because if you watch it, HBO Max will continue to renew it so that Corey can keep watching it.
Yes.
Agreed.
And that's the reason I do this podcast.
Let's take a quick break and we will come back and we will talk about some new comics.
Personal gain.
What does Marcellus Wallace look like?
What?
What country you from?
What
ain't no country I ever heard of? They speak English and what?
What?
English, motherfucker! Do you speak it?
Yes.
Then you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
Describe what Marcellus Wallace looks like.
What?
Say what again? Say what again? I dare you. I double dare you, motherfucker. Say what one more goddamn time.
He's black.
Go on.
He's bald.
Does he look like a bitch?
What?
Does he look like a bitch? No! Then why you try to fuck him like a bitch, Brett?
He didn't.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did, Brett. You tried to fuck him. And my Sarah's Wallace don't like to be fucked by anybody except Mrs. Wallace. You read the Bible, Brett?
Yes.
Well, there's this passage I got memorized. Sort of fits this occasion. Ezekiel 25:17. The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who in the name of charity and goodwill shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness, for he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
And we're back.
Hi.
We had a bunch of comics to talk about. We'll plug them here quickly so you guys can go pick them up because we will talk about them later. Batman the Imposter, Robin and Batman, and New Burn, two excellent DC comic books that we sort of previewed at the beginning. They're Elseworld books, Elseworld Batman books, and New Burn, the new Chip Zdarsky private dick book, like asshole detective book, kind of my favorite genre.
Asshole detective with a very interesting twist.
Yeah.
Cool concept. It's a cool concept.
We just got carried away talking about Wes Anderson, and we're going to save those for another week, but be sure to pick those up because we will be talking about them in the future. But we saved two comic books for now, and we will jump right into them. First one up is the Matthew Rosenberg, Tyler Boss, what would you call this? Post-apocalyptic is what they claim.
Let's say post-apocalyptic.
This is the team that brought you Four Kids Walk Into a Bank, and now they bring you What's the Furthest Place From Here? A, once again, cumbersome title.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm in love with this book, though, Corey.
I'm in love with it, too.
It's so fucking weird. I love it.
So, guys, the gist of this book is that there seems to be this post-apocalyptic wasteland where, at this point,
Maybe. I have some theories, but yes. Sorry, continue. My fault.
It's presented to us as a post-apocalyptic wasteland where teenagers exist in their own little districts. Mm-hmm. We find ourselves in our crew, which is set in a record shop. It's a bit hard to explain.
It's a bit hard to explain for a lot of reasons, primarily because this first issue introduces a lot of questions and basically gives us no answers.
Yes.
Just off the top of my head, a couple of questions I have. What are the Dementor things?
Dementors.
Why are there bands of teenagers that beat each other up like it's the fucking Outsiders, and some of them wear pigs masks? Does this girl know she's pregnant? They keep saying something's wrong with her. Is she also sick, or do they just not know what pregnancy is?
I just don't think they know what pregnancy is.
But there are scenes where she says, I don't want to drink, and she can't have coffee is also referenced. So, it's a little weird. Other questions I have. Why is Tyler Boss so fucking sick at art? Makes me mad.
Yes, it's annoying.
Is my last and final question on top of my head before we jump into the full discussion, is it intentional that the black woman in this book is basically the same black woman from Dead Dog's Bite? She is the police officer. I mean, it's not even like she looks like a police officer. She is the police officer in slightly different clothing.
Subtle. Shut up.
Okay, just making sure.
Sometimes sometimes you just like a character design, and sometimes you like a character, and you're like, I'm just gonna keep this. I'm just gonna keep this and shut the fuck up, Che.
I'm not mad at it. I also, he gave us, we were talking about this in the break, gave us one of my favorite ever intro pages of all time, and this is the Hall & Oates Private Eye full page spread with "based on a true story" plastered across it, and it takes you about 30 seconds to realize this is absolutely not based on a true story.
What a good lie!
Yeah.
That's a good lie. I was just straight. I'm like, oh, okay, so this is gonna be about like, oh no, you're just a fucking liar, aren't you?
The sound you might be hearing is me pulling my copy of Four Kids Walk Into a Bank off the shelf, because I think we both were not sure. I think that's how that one starts too, right?
I did let somebody's currently borrowing my Four Kids Walk Into a Bank book. It's been a year. It's a long time to borrow it.
And
You know how long it takes to read a comic book? One day.
well, some of us are slower than you, Corey. All right.
That makes, yeah, I know. Imagine my life.
Okay, I must have misremembered. There is not a based on a true story here.
It might have happened in Dead Dog's Bite or something.
I don't think, because the Dead Dog's Bite, I vividly remember the intro because I love the intro. It was that like sort of Twin Peaks-esque thing where you have that guy walking around in the suit who's like sort of our narrator but sort of in on it. I kind of loved that. Okay, but what's the furthest place from here? What the hell can we say about this first issue?
Post-apocalyptic wasteland where all the adults are gone, and seemingly there's a very limited knowledge to how things work besides violence.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't. I mean, we get a lot of hints of what's to come. A character whose name is Slug returns, who is an adult. We are told now. So he had to leave before because he was adult, but he came back, and actually, it's not that like adults have all died out. I guess they're just not allowed here because the inciting event of the violence of the beautifully drawn fight scene is that they quote unquote have an adult in their territory, that the adult being Slug, and we hear from Slug there is a city somewhere. This is gonna be a really obscure reference that I don't think anybody in the world is gonna get besides maybe one Canadian listener. Do you remember the TV show called The Tribe? If I don't remember it, then it's
okay.
Super obscure. What the hell's The Tribe?
The Tribe was a Canadian television show, but the basic concept was that all the adults in the world died. Mm-hmm. And it basically kind of like has this post-apocalyptic world where like kids are in charge. And they're like, there's like a bunch of different gangs, but it's like, I'm getting like really like, no one, I'm so sorry. God, this is only for me. No one else is going to fucking get this, but it like reminds me of this. And I couldn't remember what it was until just now, but it reminded me of, but it's like a very similar, like only children. There's a bunch of different gang wars and violence and shit like that.
So The Tribe, I've just looked it up, appears to be a 1999, which, wow, Corey, what a reference. A 1999 British sci-fi show.
British? Oh, I thought it was Canadian.
British sci-fi. Unless there's a Canadian version. This is a post-apocalyptic teen drama. Like holy shit. Every season had 52 episodes. What the fuck is this show?
New Zealand, actually, Che. Not. Well, it's New Zealand and United Kingdom.
Okay.
I don't know. They had funny accents, and I was a kid. I didn't know any better.
Well, so it was a UK TV show that appears to be shot in New Zealand.
Got it. New Zealand.
Yeah, no, I've never heard of the show. Why have you seen this show?
There was like a random channel. Like, there's a random channel in my grandpa's cable box that had like these like, it had like Degrassi and shit. Probably why I thought it was Canadian. Yeah. I think it was like the random like Canadian version of the BBC. And I think they were just showing reruns when I was in middle school.
Yeah. Well, unlike Corey's incredibly relevant reference to The Tribe, I don't think the adults are supposed to be dead here.
I'm sorry.
It's great. It's great. Yeah, because they're not surprised that Slug is alive. They're surprised that Slug is returned. So I think that's a key distinction, is that this is some world where adults exist. They know they exist, but they've gone somewhere else.
They also don't belong there because clearly the pig gang who shows up says you have an adult here.
Also, what a horrifying but like awesome panel or page. It's a 2-page spread when we see the pig gang like coming out of the like shadows, the boxes and stuff. Really love that scene.
I liked it. I liked it a lot too because it was just like, even though like they had this horrifying image, They still do the whole like kid huddle thing where they're just like, hold on guys, like give us a second before we start just beating the shit out of each other. Just like huddle up real quick. And it's just such like clear, like stupid kid logic being like, hold on, but they did the thing for us, so we could just.
Well, my one critique about Boss's art in this is I mean, I don't think they're supposed to be 25-year-olds.
I'm assuming they're supposed to be
drawn
under,
like 25-year-olds.
Yeah, I'm assuming they're supposed to be like under 18. Because I mean, even this guy Slug who comes back, he doesn't look like
right. He doesn't
old.
look old. Yeah.
I'm just going to go off the assumption they're supposed to be like teenagers. That's what I'm guessing at least.
Right. I thought they're supposed. I think they're supposed to be like 13 to 16, 17, maybe 18. But that scene where they're huddling, if you look at them, they look like they're 30-year-olds trying to decide where to go to brunch. Like,
I mean, that's how I meet up with my friends.
I just one of my favorite panels in this, as well as when we see that first opening shot of the record store, and you can like sort of zoom in on all of the covers he decided to draw in. There's a box that says bad, and then next to that box is not so bad.
It's just sad stuff.
Yeah, I won't pretend to know what the record that he holds up that he claims is cool, because obviously he has to tell what's our main character's name, the pregnant one? Do you remember?
Don't put me on the spot like that.
He has to tell Sid. It's Sid. He has to tell Sid that Hall & Oates is not cool because. I mean, I don't know a lot about Hall & Oates, but I know they're not cool. I'll tell you that.
They are not cool, unfortunately. But I do not know anything about. I can't even read the name of it. He's covering it. Probably intentional because of like copyright.
Well, I don't think album covers are copyrighted. I think you can.
Actually, it just depends. I mean, it's subjective.
That's true. That's right. Corey would know this more than me. This is literally your job. So.
It is my job. Yeah, no.
I wish I could report back on the deluxe edition. So I did every issue of this book, or at least so far, the 3 issues that you can see scheduled for release on Image's website have a deluxe edition where each one comes with a 7-inch vinyl with a, like, I guess, curated soundtrack on it. And I think, based on the description in this, some original songs too, which is like awesome. Like an idea that I think we talked about a while ago, where we're like, I kind of would love if comic book artists and authors started releasing a soundtrack. I was picturing like just them dropping like a Spotify playlist link, but if you're going to be dropping a vinyls too, that's also, but unfortunately, I guess my comic book store distribution got hacked, so they didn't get in their Wednesday shipment, so I couldn't get the deluxe edition of this, so I don't really know what these songs are, but it's again, like I said, it's a very cool idea. I kind of love, and because of how important music is to, it's not such a big deal in this first issue. We get some introduction to it, but obviously it's a lot of world setting up, but it's clearly going to be a big deal going forward. Each kid gets to choose a record, and that's like their record, I guess, going forth into the world, which is really cool. I'm gonna put you on the spot again. Do you know what record you'd choose if you were at a record store and somebody was like, you get one to take with you on your journey through the post-apocalyptic future? Which record are you choosing?
Oh man,
after Hall & Oates, obviously Hall & Oates.
Hall & Oates
is
might
the
be
first
my
choice,
first one.
But after that,
Arctic Monkeys, Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino.
I can't say I'm familiar. I mean, I know Arctic Monkeys, but I don't know that album.
It's a very like weird album. It's my most played vinyl. It's just like a very strange album, like front to back. It all flows together. It's like the way they describe it is futuristic hotel music.
Nice.
And it's very like hotel lobby weird shit. But the only reason I think about that is because like that was like one of my first like vinyl purchases that I'm like I just kept on spinning it over and over and over again. But maybe something like old school, maybe like Bowie or something, maybe like Young Americans or some shit like that. I don't know. What about you?
My most played, and as you said, most played vinyl, I got it in my head. My most played vinyl is probably my Rio Fukiu Scenery album, or Miles Davis, John Coltrane 1960s album, Paris 1960. But those are, the Paris 1960 album I could not listen to for the rest of my life. It's very abrasive experimental jazz that I love listening to when I'm in the mood.
Yeah.
The Scenery album is amazing, but it is sort of one note. It's one style. I'd have to choose something like maybe Blue and Exiles Below the Heavens, because it is maybe my favorite rap album of all time. And I just sort of never get sick of it. I've been listening to it since freshman year of high school, and I still listen to it like maybe once a month. So
I think Man on the Moon might be a follow up for that, but I think like if I'm going on this existential journey, I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. Maybe in the post-apocalyptic future, I would want abrasive, aggressive, experimental jazz by John Coltrane and Miles Davis. There's a part in that album, so it's a live recording, where you can hear the audience booing John Coltrane because he's just fucking around. It's great. It's such a good album. Yeah, I don't again. It was like I said, we have just questions. I kind of love that Rosenberg has thrown us headfirst into this world. The ending is very cool. I won't spoil it. Really makes me excited for what's coming forward. It's a book that really begs for rereading. Like it really wants you to go back and explore these hints we're getting at the world. I have some theories, including that the Dementors are mothers, like actual adult mothers who've come to retrieve their kids, or they're fucking Dementors, one of the two. So, would the biggest twist at the end of this whole thing be that this was actually based on a true story? Would that be the biggest twist of all time?
If they could figure out a way to actually have this based on a true story, that would be the biggest twist of all time. Or they want to blow up the world. I don't know.
Yeah, there is probably some town in like New Jersey where kids have taken over and have like just been killing each other for years.
I like how you just said New Jersey. Like there's some random like.
Well, I tried to think about the worst place in the world, and that's what came to mind.
Oh well, yeah, first place in the north, but I mean, I feel like
it's New Jersey or the Panhandle of Florida, one of the two.
Fair. Probably Florida because it gets hot there. That's a problem.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on. We've got one more comic to talk about, and this is a comic I think we haven't checked in since.
Maybe like
first issue.
Even the first issue. Maybe we talked about a middle issue, but I don't even think we did do that, honestly.
But this is the 6 sidekicks of Trigger Keaton. Corey, do you want to break down? So this is wrapped.
Yes.
I'm probably gonna spoil it if you are, for some reason, really averse to Kyle Stark spoilers. Go ahead and skip ahead to our discussion of the Eternals. That will be, the timestamps will be in the description below. But if you are a normal person who doesn't really care that much about spoiling the plot of Kyle Stark's book, stick around. But yeah, you want to run down what you thought of this 6-issue miniseries?
Well, if you guys aren't familiar again with it, the 6 sidekicks of Trigger Keaton are 6, I guess 6 actors who worked with this horrible piece of shit martial arts star.
like comically terrible. Like one of the worst human beings that's ever been even written about in fiction. It's crazy.
Yes. And like this horrible man. And it is his like 6 former sidekicks as they try to work together to figure out who murdered him.
Who killed him and staged his murder as if it was a suicide.
And I'm going to be honest with you guys. The whole reveal at the end, it doesn't matter. That's not why you're reading this.
I don't think I gave even like a little bit of a shit about who killed him.
And they definitely, even at the end of the book, they're just like, why are you guys trying to sue this? He was a piece of shit. And they were like, well, actually, we don't know at the end.
Yeah, I kind of loved because the whole time you're sort of asking yourself in the back of your head, because every book opens with a flashback to one of the sidekicks working on set with Trigger Keaton. And we see, like we said, how truly awful this man is. And then the whole time you're like, why are these 5, because one of them is not trying to figure out what happened to him, but why are these 5 people that this man brutally mistreated and mistreated everyone around them and basically ruined their lives, most of them?
Pretty much.
Why are they trying to figure out who killed him?
I think it's like one of those like hero complex for a plot thing where the characters like halfway through realize like, why the fuck are we doing this?
Right.
And that's a very
it's just like sheer curiosity. It's like blinded by curiosity. Like I think there are some people who just need to have the answers to questions.
And also sometimes I feel like it's one of those points too where people just feels very like bored in their lives. Mm-hmm. As we get to the end of like the characters, like as the end of the sidekicks, their lives just have been going on with it. But our first couple people that we get introduced through, they're not really doing shit with their lives.
Right.
Mostly in relation to Trigger Keaton.
Yeah.
we even see like as our first main guy who's a nurse now apparently still knows kung fu. To the point. I mean, obviously, it's a comic.
It's probably like riding a bike, right? It's probably something you don't forget.
I don't know. You know kung fu.
I don't know kung fu. I don't know why you think I know kung fu.
I thought you knew kung fu.
I, for a long time, used to take Aikido and Jiu-Jitsu with my father.
So that's kung fu, right?
I still know the stuff that I do then, but I was never like a black belt. Like I was never a great.
Che is being very modest right now, but he definitely does kung fu.
You can't put my business out there. Right? I need people to think they can fight me, so that when we get in a fight, I break their legs with sheer surprise.
Yeah, you're the muscle. I'm the face. That's all. That's what we are.
First of all, I'm the muscle and the face.
That's fair. Also, that's also fair. Hey, listen. But yeah, so I mean, like the mystery is these characters trying to in Kyle Stark's fashion. If you guys have never read his books, we always mention them all the time. Sex Castle, fucking shit. Wow,
Assassination,
which
I 100% of the time call Assassination Nation.
Assassination Nation. What the fuck is it? Old Blood, or I cannot remember the name of his books right now. Holy shit. Old
Head.
Old Head. Yeah,
is the one that he crowdsourced basically, right? Or like
I think so.
Not GoFundMe. What's the one? Indiegogo. Is one that you can support on Indiegogo. Yeah,
and you also can buy that from
Rock Candy Mountain was my introduction to Kyle Starks, which is
I think I picked up Sex Castle on a whim. Yeah. And then I because I heard good things about it, then I picked up his second book, and then Rock Candy Mountain, which I think is still his best work. Even though I really did like Sidekicks with Trigger Keaton. I thought that Rock Candy Mountain is his best work.
Has also apparently, and I didn't realize this, has been writing the Rick and Morty comic book for the last couple of years, which is honestly very fitting. It kind of makes me like, I'm not a massive Rick and Morty fan. The same thing a lot of people are. Maybe my brain's just not big enough. Obviously
not. You are kind of an idiot.
But it kind of makes me want to pick up the Rick and Morty graphic novel or the trades now, because I think that's like a pretty amazing pairing. Kyle Stark's writing Rick and Morty.
I think Kyle Starks is so fucking funny, which is even surprising me. I'm surprised he doesn't have like a staff writing job, like on like a cartoon show or something like Adult Swim related, because of how fucking funny he is.
I wonder. I agree with you. I wonder if he just doesn't want to, because you would think if he wanted to, his resume at this point is pretty bulletproof to the point where, like, imagine him on that Harley Quinn show or something like it. I mean, I was actually going
to bring up the Harley Quinn, like, because they did. I just finished the show a couple weeks ago, and I was reading like the follow-up comic, which goes like right after second season, and I don't know who writes that, but it was just so crazy reading. And I'm like, they got the voices of these characters so well that I'm like, it just feels like a continuation of like the sorry guys, I just whacked the shit out of my mic. It's a continuation of like the show that like the voices fit so well that I can't imagine writing the Rick and Morty comic. It's just like, hey, you're good at this. Do you want to like do a real episode or something? I don't know.
I don't know. People who are watching the video might have seen my face make a bunch of weird shapes. I don't know how real this is. I did just look up Kyle Starks on IMDb just to double check he hadn't written anything. He hasn't been the writer on anything, but apparently there is, and this is IMDb often will lie to you, but there is a Kill Them All something. I mean, there's so little information, it's not even clear if this is a movie or a TV show or something, but there is a Kill Them All something being adapted, and he is credited, obviously he's credited as the source material on that. So that's interesting.
That one,
directed by Victoria Mahoney, who people will,
oh wow, they actually got a name and everything.
Yeah, probably most know for. What do people most know her for? I know her as the person who did a couple episodes of The Morning Show, which is a terrible TV show. So don't let that.
Directing, you didn't just because you direct something did not mean you wrote it.
Yeah, no. It's not her fault that that's the dumbest fucking idea for a TV show of all time.
You don't want to hear about the politics of Good Morning America?
No, thank you. She apparently also did some second unit directing on The Rise of Skywalker, which is the last of the most recent
episode 9.
Yeah,
so she knows how to shoot some action at least.
I can't say that. I mean, I can't imagine this is going to be live action, right? How could it be? How would you do a Kill Them All live action?
I think you have to get like someone like Edgar Wright to. Oh shit.
Yeah, but it would have to be.
It has to be so over the top and silly though. Like if you made it real, like it has to be like a weird like.
Yeah,
mix
you either
of,
have
like,
to do like no blood, which would be bad and weird, or the most blood ever.
I can't think of the last time I've seen like a good slapstick shooter. It's hard to fit. It's hard to fit. I mean, Deadpool.
Is that a thing that exists? I guess Deadpool. But yeah, I guess you could do tonally like Deadpool. Now that you've said that, I completely forgot about that. Yes, you could do tonally like Deadpool.
The Zamboni scene is still chef's kiss.
Deadpool is something that has been walked a very, very thin line that think
somehow works.
Teetered on the edge of there's like one step to the right, and that's a truly horrible movie.
And the one step to the right is not having Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, I think that would have done it. That definitely would have done it. Yeah, but so this is anything else you want to say about? We haven't really talked much about this specifically.
I mean, no, I think it's a good book. It's a good mystery book where the mystery itself does not matter. It's
as you said, the whole point of this is basically these 5 people coming together, right?
Yes.
The thing that's fun about this book is you get to see all these disparate characters that feel very unrelated. Eventually the 6th guy does show up. So I should say all 6 of them form this wholesome as Kyle is ever going to be, wholesome bond between each other. Is actually pretty fun. And I kind of like the parallel between like these 6 people are brought together for an unlikely sort of beautiful relationship by a man who is currently burning in hell. Like I think that's just like a nice fun parallel.
Which I think is why I love the ending so much, because it's very much like a this makes sense. It's like this ending at the end of all of this, like it leads to this making sense, and I love how silly it was.
I wonder what's next for Kyle Starks. I think we've always said that he understands better than most writers of his style how not to overstay his welcome. Yeah. And I think the beauty of all of his books, but especially Six Sidekicks, is that it is 6 issues in and out. I think any longer, we have to have a mystery that matters. We have to have a mystery that like really gets us excited to see what's going forward. And any shorter, we don't get to spend a lot of time with these characters that we begin to really fall in love with.
See, so I wonder if this is like the end though, because I saw when I saw like the end of the issue, it said volume 1. So I'm wondering if that just meant like this is the only thing. It's just being sold like this. I wonder if this is just a one and done.
How would you continue this story?
I don't know.
I could see an anthology maybe.
Even the end, like, are we gonna do this? Everyone's just like, no, we're not gonna do this. So I don't know if that was a very meta being like, no, this is done. This isn't who we are. And I think that kind of fits the characters. But at the same time, I could easily see him returning to because these group of characters are so fun. They're all so individual and so good.
Aside from Rick and Morty, which appears to be his day job or whatever, has he ever returned to any of his worlds?
No, I don't think so. But I think that's
everything else is either a.
I think he said he was going to do a Kill Them All sequel at some point, though. I remember reading an interview about that because Kill Them All was also.
I just can't picture what that would look like. I can't imagine the same way I can't really picture what a Six Sidekicks sequel would look. I mean, I could. It's not like everybody dies at the end of Six Sidekicks. You could make a sequel or even a prequel. I actually be more interested in a prequel. Just hanging out with the worst man on planet Earth for six issues. Yeah,
it's like he's like he tanked your career by sleeping with your wife. Jesus, like he's like, why are you trying to fucking figure out this guy's like? He's like, oh yeah, why are you trying to figure out this guy's? He seems like a piece of shit.
He's not just seems like, definitely is.
All right, my friend, shall we talk about Eternals?
Yeah, we'll take a quick break, and we're gonna come back and talk about the most reviled movie that Disney's released in a long time for whatever reason.
Here comes Slipknot, the man who can climb anything. Wonderful.
Have a good time, scumbag.
Straighten up.
She had a mouth.
Listen up. You're next. Injection you got. It's a nanite explosive. It's the size of a rice grain, but it's powerful as a hand grenade. You disobey me, you die. You try to escape, you die. You otherwise irritate or vex me, and guess what? You die.
I'm known to be quite vexing. I'm just forewarning you.
Ladies, shut up! This is the deal. You're going somewhere very bad, to do something that'll get you killed. But until that happens, you're my problem.
So was that like a pep talk?
Yeah, that was pep talk. Here's your shit. Grab what you need for a fight. We're wheels up in 10.
You might want to work on your team motivation thing. You heard of Phil Jackson?
Yeah.
He's like the gold standard, okay? Triangle, bitch. Study.
And we're back.
What's up?
It's time to talk Chloe Zhao and Marvel Studios' Eternals.
And we fucking hate it. Yeah.
I remain surprised. I mean, I just don't care. I don't care. We do this. It's like a boring refrain at this point. I'm just gonna stop bringing it up. The opinions of movie critics is not interesting to me, and the opinions of like a conglomerated selection of movie critics distilled down into one number on Rotten Tomatoes is even less interesting to me.
Yes.
People's opinions on critics' opinions on Marvel movies in particular means nothing to me.
Also, they mean nothing to me. You're all beneath me.
But I am surprised this is the one that they've decided was so terrible.
Can I just go through the movies that I think are worse than this from the MCU?
Marvel movies? You do it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Incredible Hulk.
Yes. I think
Thor?
we all agree with that one. Yeah. I like the first Thor, but yeah.
Okay. I like this better than the first Thor. I don't hate the first Thor.
Yeah.
Iron Man 2. Thor the Dark World. Avengers Age of Ultron.
Yeah. I think
Captain
this is
Marvel.
better than Captain Marvel. Yeah, I was going to say. In recent memory, this is better
I'm
than
just going
Captain Marvel.
through. And I think I enjoyed this more than Black Widow. But not by a lot.
That's where we differ. I liked Black Widow more than I enjoyed this more than Black Widow. Let me say that because I think, and we will talk about what I think is working, what I think is not working. I think Black Widow is a better movie than this. Ultimately,
yes.
Yeah,
I will agree with you on that one. Yes.
And
by saying this, we're probably going to agree on a lot of the same points. I do not think this is a very flawed movie.
Yeah.
But when I say very flawed, this is a flawed movie.
Well, I'll just tip my hand right now. I think this is 2/3 a great movie. The first two acts of this movie, I think, are genuinely really good. And I think the third act is maybe the worst third act Marvel has ever had. And that's saying something because Iron Man 2 still exists.
Wait, hold on. The third act of Iron Man 2 where they're in the garden and they're just like mowing down robots, him and War Machine back to back. Story-wise...
I mean, that's part of it. Yes.
No. Shut up. Nothing else matters, though, besides that part, though. That scene was fucking awesome.
That's it. That's like cool 30 seconds trapped in the middle of the longest 30 minutes of my life where I'm like, what is Sam Rockwell doing? Why the fuck am I keep up to listen to this guy talk about birds? What's going on?
Yeah,
why is this movie still going?
I forgot we did talk about this movie. I forgot. It's funny. I've watched the movie in recent years and I blanked it out of my memory.
Iron Man 2 could have been the best Marvel movie ever, is my hottest take ever, if they had just basically cut and paste an entirely different last 30 minutes into it. I don't know what the 30 minutes looks like, but the last 30 minutes of Iron Man 2 is truly horrendous.
Yes. That's very, very fair. And it's funny to me because I feel like this movie took a second to pick up, but like once the ride started going for me in the movie, that's when I was like, okay, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, you said you didn't like the first act, which I actually think the first act is my favorite part of the movie.
That's interesting.
I love getting introduced to these characters. I think
my first, I like the intro. I like their introduction scene, like landing on Earth. I like the whole fucking Star Wars like introduction, like give you some fucking text about a bunch of names that don't make any fucking sense. Maybe I'm in a weird sci-fi mood because of Dune, and I'm just like, give me your fucking weird names from weird planets and your weird ships, dude. I'm fucking about it. Yeah. But like as soon as we kind of got to the whole like modern day London thing, I'm like, all right, this is like, come on, let something happen. And then happened. Things happened very quickly, but maybe it was when Kumali showed up. That's when I kind of was like, all right, I'm having a good time.
When who showed up? Sorry.
Kingo.
Oh, yeah.
And his sidekick, my favorite character.
I get it. You got to grab the Bollywood audience. I'm on the record, and I'm happy to say it again. I hate Bollywood movies. I think they're fucking stupid, and I cannot believe they snuck an entire Bollywood dance into this movie. It's my least favorite part.
Hey, you know what's funny? Yeah. I went to the bathroom during that part.
You didn't miss anything. It's so pointless.
I missed nothing.
Kumail Nanjiani's having a ton of fun, which I'm happy for him. And if it wasn't for I think the worst shot in Marvel movie history, which comes later in the movie. I think that'd be my least favorite thing that's ever been in a Marvel movie.
Tip your hat to me again, Che. Let's just get all like the stuff we don't like out of
Okay, yeah. Well, I think they did my boy Richard Madden super fucking dirty. I don't really understand why they did Icarus like that. I don't really get that they decided halfway through the movie that he was going to be a Superman. Not even like a analogy. He was just going to be Superman up to and including the point where he flies into the sun. What is that shot? What's going on there? Why is my man flying into the sun?
Because I mean, like, there's like I understand the writer's room reason that he replayed.
We already addressed the fact that the Icarus story was made up by
yes,
by a child.
Sprite, yes, by Sprite.
By Sprite.
Yes, it's the child.
We already addressed that fact, so we don't need to reference that he's Icarus and he flew too close to the sun.
Yeah,
I don't. That's not.
Well, no,
clever.
listen, like literally, he didn't fly too close to the sun. He flew into the sun.
That's too close. In is too close.
Do you think, like, in his mind at the moment, we're just like, time to kill myself? Into the sun I go.
And listen, I understand that everyone, including BuzzFeed and Screen Rant, want to write their like 12 plot holes that ruined Eternals. If you're really concerned about plot holes in a superhero movie, you're doing the wrong. Like, superhero movies don't make any sense. Dark Knight, widely considered one of the best, if not the best superhero movie of all time. If you sit down and write down the Joker's plan in that movie, it's not.
Makes no fucking sense.
None of what he tries to do in that movie makes any sense. Why are there just like two boats all of a sudden? It's fucking stupid. Superhero movies, by design, are dumb. And we love them because of it. So, like, yes, Brian Tyree Henry probably wouldn't have been able to beat Icarus with some metal rings. But, like, also... But superheroes don't exist, Chief. Hate to break it to you.
Okay. I'm saying anybody breaking that down, like, why couldn't you do this? Because it looks cool. That's the entire fucking.
It's a great scene. Yeah, it's like a great scene.
Superheroes exist off the rule of cool.
Yeah,
that's all it is. You got to give like little cathartic elements. Like, why were they all like, we can't beat him together? And then like each of them kind of had their moment of beating the shit out of him. Like, you need that as a way to balance it out because it's fun.
I think the reason that the third act doesn't work for me, and the reason I think it's so bad,
but it did look cool. I think that's the reason I kind of
Chloe Zhao.
I think that's why I think that's maybe why I forgave it, because I know the third act, it was like the whole like Unimind thing. I'm like, this is fucking dumb. I don't give a shit about it. But it was like, this was just shooting a finale for an action movie like on like a beach. Just was like, it worked so well because I'm just so used to like doing the dark scenes with all of like you could just kind of tell, like, it feels like fake sometimes when you're in it.
Yeah.
And I guess with this, there was so much like kind of the way that she shot it, I felt not distracted by it, essentially, if that makes sense.
Well, I also I think that we've said it a long time before this movie came out, or at least I was banging this drum. I'm still confused why Chloe Zhao was a choice here. I mean, I get it's a cool name to throw on a movie, and as you said, it's absolutely beautiful.
But this is before Nomadland, though.
Before Nomadland,
she was like decided. This movie was supposed to come out last year.
Yeah, she had made the oh my god, what's the movie called? The Last Ride. Either way, she made another critically acclaimed movie, obviously not as critically acclaimed as Nomadland, which basically swept the entire award season. But she was not a name that I ever thought made sense to make a Marvel movie. And then when you see the Marvel movie that she did make, I really get it. I think if anybody, I didn't read a lot of the reviews. I read a couple of reviews, but if anybody is out here saying she's the reason this movie is bad, they basically are out here smoking crack. Like, it's amazingly shot. The problem with this movie, I think by my estimation, also, the movie's just called The Rider, so apologies, not The Last Rider. The problem with this movie, and the reason I think the third act is such a miss, is because it's trying way too hard to do a lot of important stuff going forward. It's the same reason that we talk about Ultron was so bad, right? And as we said, I think on last episode, all of the things that came out of Ultron are amazing. It set up some of the best things that the MCU gave for us, but we obviously needed that. We needed Ultron to do this, and I think the easiest solution for this. Now, would you be able to get Chloe Zhao for this? Would you be able to get Angelina Jolie for this? The easiest solution is to make this a TV show. There's 14 different endings at the end of this movie. And if this had been a TV show that was 10 episodes long,
you are 100% right.
It's flawless. There's too much stuff going on.
You are 100% right on that. I didn't think about that.
The second I walked to the theater, I was like, why?
This should have been a
Why
TV
is this
show.
not a TV show?
You're 100%
because we're getting introduced to like 5 brand new, massively important characters moving forward.
Yeah,
we're getting introduced to like a lot of concepts that are super important, like the Celestials, like the Eternals themselves. We get introduced to the fucking Black Knight, and we hear Blade's voice in the background of the end credit scene. We get introduced to One Direction. There's just a lot of shit going on in this movie.
One Direction. Oh my god! You know, I didn't recognize him in the theater. I think I told you this. I didn't know who the fuck it was. Everyone in the audience was like, and I was just like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, he looked familiar to me. I'm like, this guy looks familiar. I don't know who the fuck he is though.
Have you Googled Eternals recently? Just do a quick Google of just the word
I did.
Eternals.
I googled
He's
Eternals.
the first fucking face.
I would have been so mad if I got spoiled for me like out of the gate. Like that would have been really fucking annoying.
Well, I told you I saw memes.
Oh yeah, you told me
about his casting. I just thought it would be like a casting news been announced. I didn't think they were going to drop it in this. That was basically
as everyone expected. The brother of Thanos would be played by Harry Styles.
Yeah, 100%.
We all saw that.
You know what would have been an amazing flex, and I mean, it just wouldn't have happened because it would have been too distracting if they had just gotten Josh Brolin to do it. Like a regular, not
just like
purple
regular
Josh
old Josh.
Brolin.
Like, yeah, that's my brother.
It would have been so funny.
That actually would have been a really cool way to keep him going because I'm sure he would have said yes.
I don't know. I feel like Josh Brolin's had his time with the MCU and he's good. He was
right.
In the MCU
he doesn't want
longer
to do
than like most people.
Listen, yeah, he doesn't want to do any more big budget sci-fi weird things ever again.
I don't get that reference.
Dune.
Dune. But he's not going to be in the next one. Spoiler alert, I guess. Is he? It's been a long time since I read the book. I thought he was dead.
Che, did you see him die on screen?
I fucking hate movies, man. Fine.
You know the rule.
Yeah,
we read comic books, Che. You know the rule.
I know. But yeah, I mean, that basically my criticism of this movie is it's trying to do way too much, and it killed off the 2 most interesting characters, which is not really the movie's fault. I don't think I would imagine that's probably contract disputes or whatever.
They're gonna get better. They'll be back. Well, at least I think Richard Madden will be back.
You think Richard Madden comes back?
Well, I think at least to me, the whole concept to me, like, because can I start talking about things I liked in the movie?
Yeah,
with that?
That was literally my critique is that one thing, but I think it's just too big a thing to avoid. This should have been a TV show, and too much stuff happens in the last 20 minutes of this movie. There's like I said, there's like 10 different endings. It's crazy.
Yeah, like they saved the world. Oh, cool. Okay, the Celestials probably be mad about this again, and then the motherfucker just shows up, and be like, all right, I'm pissed about this. Yeet, and then fucking just leaves with all of them. Then you got Angelina Jolie in the ship, like, I guess we gotta go rescue them. Yeah. And that's a plot line. And then Star Fox shows up, and I couldn't call him Star Fox legally? I don't fucking know.
Also, shout out to Patton Oswalt getting into the MCU as a CGI creature that doesn't look anything like Patton Oswalt.
Yeah, that was a weird choice, honestly.
They did him incredibly dirty.
I thought it was the actor who plays Gene from Bob's Burgers for the first 30 seconds. And I was like, oh, it's Patton. But I thought it was just like, oh, I guess we're just going to get Gene in the MCU, I guess, at this point. Because that's all I could think of.
That would be fucking great, honestly. I'd be into that.
But
yeah, let's say what was good about this movie, because I think we both agree that there is a lot that is a lot working in this film.
I liked a majority of the cast.
Just a majority. I liked the entire cast. So tell me who you.
No, I'm trying to think who I didn't like though. I just wanted to say majority top because I'm like trying to think who I did not. And I liked everybody actually. Can't think of anybody who I thought like really spoiled it. I think everyone across the board. And I feel like the only people that we didn't really get a lot of like love from as an audience was our supposed 2 main leads.
Richard Madden and oh my god, Gemma
Cersei.
Chan.
Yes, I feel like I didn't get a lot of out of them. I think Gemma Chan's gonna be back obviously more as Cersei. I'm sure she's gonna stick around in the MCU, and I'm sure we're gonna get a lot more character. I mean, even a little character bit about like tell us what your powers were with Kingo and his like assistant, and she was like, well, I turned this thing into a rock. Then I turned this thing into. I was like, that was a little funny, and I'm like, okay, now I get a little bit more of her character. And I kind of wanted to get a little bit more out of her, but I think like I don't put that on the actors. I just kind of think this was a jam-packed film, and you had a lot to do with like a little bit, like with 2.5 hours, which isn't a lot of time to do as much they wanted to do with this.
But I think it's a testament to some of the lesser known. I mean, obviously Angelina Jolie is in this movie, who is like one of the biggest stars in the history of movies. Selma Hayek, massive star. Richard Madden and Kit Harington will be very recognizable faces at this point. And also, I think Kumail Nanjiani at this point is probably not quite a household name, but he's quite famous. The other people, including Lauren Ridolph, who's having, who I think other than Chloe Zhao has one of the most interesting success. She was in Sound of Metal last year, one of my favorite movies of last year, but is like this quiet film about a metal musician, Riz Ahmed, who loses his hearing and has to struggle with that, and she plays a deaf or an ASL teacher who's like helping him get through that. And then to be in the MCU is quite the shift.
Good for her.
Yeah, she's great. Brian Tyree
great
Henry's fucking great. Creepiest boy alive.
Creepiest boy alive.
Barry Keoghan is fucking great in this. I love Droog's character.
I loved his. I think he might be my favorite character from the movie.
He's
the
best. He's the best.
I was like, he's definitely gonna be evil. Oh no, he's actually like besides the weird cult thing he was doing, pretty solid guy.
Well, I think the other thing that's really interesting about this movie is there are no real good and evil people. It's all moral gray areas.
And I was gonna
quite compellingly debated.
And I like the whole, like, because people, I was kind of worried, people like, how the fuck are they going to explain them, like, kind of sitting on the sidelines for a lot of these things? It's because they were the bad guys. Right. And I like that twist so much. I'm like, why would they do anything? Because they weren't the good guys.
Yeah.
I
also like that it was kind of like a little ham-fisted writing, but I'm glad they just got it out of the way. Kit Harington learns that they're in Eternals. He's like, why weren't you helping with Thanos? Which probably would be my first question, too. And they were just like, we couldn't. Which, listen, fine.
And, like, at the time, like, fuck you, that's bullshit. But now I'm like, oh, because your leader was trying to let this planet be destroyed at some point. So I guess it kind of does make a little bit of sense now, huh? But I do I love this whole morally great thing that this movie did. I don't think any other Marvel movies has done it to this extent, where when the movie ends, it's like, did we do the right thing? And I mean, on one hand, you saved the Earth. On the other hand, like, you pretty much just prevented another universe from existing.
Yeah.
That's fucking heavy.
One of my other criticisms of
also like that they were robots.
Yeah. But another criticism about the jam-packed nature of this movie, and we can't fit in everything, is that I kind of wanted to spend more time with Kingo's valet.
Yes.
Because he's a very interesting basically avatar for the audience. He's the only human that's been allowed from some like weird twist of fate in on these conversations about the fate of humanity. And he's sitting at a table, and I just thought that scene was it's one of my favorite moments in the movie, where when he's leaving and he turns around, he just says like, thank you. Like,
yeah, no, I think I was gonna bring up that scene as well. I think that was I was surprised how much that's like tugged at my heartstrings when that scene like kind of happened, because I was just like imagining myself like I would be genuinely like angry that you're like, oh, you're just gonna fucking forget about like our world more or less. But his like kind of whole like acceptance of it, I guess, or like just the way that he's viewing things was just like so like beautiful. And I mean, as like from this like kind of a fiction standpoint, I mean there are problems, but it's a very like interesting way to explore characters where a majority of them have lived for thousands of years. And just kind of like
7,000 is the number they kept saying.
Yeah, I think there was 7,000. I think you're right. But like I kind of like that from like a whole like as like looking at a movie itself being like they're not exploring these like characters a little bit more and like kind of giving them flesh out. Like think about it this way: this is like they lived for 7,000 years. This is like a week. This is nothing in their time. Like, and like I saw some criticism like why doesn't like Richard Madden and like Gemma Chan's characters like have a little bit more like interaction or like kind of like because they dated. And he fucking abandoned her for 2,000 years. Why would she be nice to him? They're like tolerating each other, but like it's not like they would be like buddy the entire. A lot of it makes sense to me.
I think like I said at the beginning, I think the criticism of this movie are based in some truth. This is far from a perfect movie, as we've already said. But as happens with all movies in the Rotten Tomatoes era, and listen, I'm looking at you. Richard I'm just pulling out random names. Richard Roper, John Wenzel. Like, I think most film critics that you find on Rotten Tomatoes, of the 328 film critics, I think maybe 300 of them didn't have an original idea when they wrote about this movie.
Yeah.
People's minds are made up oftentimes the second they walk out of a theater. We talked about this in relation to No Time to Die. A lot of people are their thoughts on something is very easily influenced by the people around them, and I think a lot of people are just terrified to seem uncultured. It's not cool. It doesn't make you look very good at your job if you like a movie that everyone else thinks is bad, unless it's your thing. Unless your thing is I'm the anti guy. This movie is not very good in a lot of ways. But the idea that everyone was like, this is the Marvel movie that fucking sucks. I hope it ends the
true.
MCU.
Yeah,
it's boring. Boring is not a thing that I'm so surprised everyone said this movie was boring.
I'm sorry, they were fighting like fucking demon monsters the entire time, and that was
also
like,
great design. Great design.
I liked it. I usually hate like CGI monsters. I thought they were really cool, like really well designed. I really do feel like on a different draft of the script, the whole the one deviant turning into like getting the eternal powers. I feel like that was more expanded on at a different point.
Well, again, it's a movie that should have been 10-hour TV show, jammed into 2 hours. And
this needs the Snyder cut. This is the movie that needs the Snyder cut.
The biggest issue with it, I mean, it is quite telling that we are doing some quick math here. We're almost 20 minutes into our conversation about the Eternals, and this is the first time we've mentioned I think, who was supposed to be the big bad of this movie.
Obviously, it was like...
He's basically not a character.
I figured... I mean, the thing about the Eternals is, like, it's always... I mean, I've read 3 Eternal runs, I think. All relatively short. The Kieran Gillen one that's going... I don't fucking remember his name right now. That's Kieran...
You got it right.
Yeah, you got it right? Okay.
Don't second guess yourself.
Thank you. Which is really good right now. But every Eternal runs that I've ever read, it always has one Eternal go bad. So watching the movie, I'm like, oh, it's going to be Druig. Like, I was like, because he's always in the comic books, he's always when he goes bad. Which as the time went on, I'm like, it's probably gonna be Icarus at some point, just because of like the hints towards him throughout the movie.
Yeah.
I don't fucking remember my fucking point on this, but like I kind of like figured now, but I still thought like the deviant was still gonna be a little bit more of it, and I did really like Angelina Jolie's like. It wasn't. I like what they did with her whole final encounter with him, where it wasn't a fight. Like traditionally, and it just ended up being in like 1 second. Also, I think I love Thena as a character, and I hope she continues staying around.
Didn't think I would enjoy Angelina Jolie so much in a movie.
Post that one movie we watched.
Yeah, just recently. But yes, since that movie, what was that called?
Who fucking cares?
It's like They Chase Me at Night or some fucking terrible name.
Those
Who Wish Me Dead.
Those Who Wish Me Dead, and John Bernthal dies in the saddest fucking fashion ever. Even though like he's like alive for like 30 minutes, he's like, oh, he died of his fucking wounds. Cool.
Yeah, she's great. I mean, she's another
awesome.
person that I was.
I think Chloe's like she at least gets really good performances out of everybody. I will say this. I think front to back. I think like. So I'm assuming I wouldn't be surprised I would not be surprised if this movie gets a sequel. I think I think this movie will get a sequel. Just
there's been already hints that the producers are thinking no sequel, but I don't know.
I think Marvel is too much to be like. I think Marvel's more like throw this movie out. It doesn't do that well. That's fine. It's just gonna add on, and then like people are gonna be like, oh, I want to understand this, and I'll go back and watch it later. I think they've understood their money machine by now. I'm not worried about the MCU, whatever. That doesn't matter.
Well, listen, I mean, like we already said, we had this with Ultron, and the MCU survived Ultron.
Yeah. And Ultron
flourished.
Ultron was much worse with characters we already knew.
Yeah. With like all of the best characters that Marvel had to offer.
Yeah, so this is like, basically, so remember what everyone what they tried to do with Justice League would be like, here's a bunch of random characters, we'll throw them together in a movie, and it fucking sucks. So they did this with Eternals, we didn't know anybody, and it at least was a okay movie. It was enjoyable. Was it a good movie? No, but it was enjoyable. I think this will be fine. And I think, unfortunately, because my man Gilgamesh was fucking bullshittily taken out of it, that's fucked up. I'm so mad about that. Gilgamesh got fucking hoed
well, we already
unnecessarily.
Talked about this.
He'll be back.
We talked about this. Well,
yes, you're right.
I don't think...
He might.
That wasn't my point. I was going to make a very bad joke, but it doesn't matter. I'm not going to make it anymore. I think you're right that these characters, one, if there's no more sequels for the Eternals, if we're done with this,
life goes on,
whatever. But the thing that this movie gave us is like an introduction to currently some of the characters I'm most excited about to go forward in the MCU.
Yes.
I mean, Brian Tyree Henry, Angelina Jolie, something I never thought I would say, and Kit Harington are just not that Kit Harington is like really a character in this movie. It's basically he's getting his like Spider-Man moment where when he gets introduced in the Blade movie.
This is like basically his like Terrence Howard next time baby, but like he'll actually be back.
I still can't. How do you fuck up the bag that badly?
Because you wanted more money than the guy who was in fucking like it's like the insane get he tried to pull off in the next one.
Well, also like, yes, that was peak Terrence Howard, and when he was like the most famous that Terrence Howard was ever going to be. But to think that even peak Terrence Howard was like, give me my fucking money, Disney levels of fame is wild to me.
Because it's like also
shout out to your role in Prisoners, one of my favorite Villeneuve movies. But you are not a man who is he in Four Brothers?
He was the cop in Four Brothers. He gets like he dies unceremoniously in the second act. It's very strange.
I'm calling my shot now. Basically, I'm just putting Cory on the spot. Our return to the Bad Movie Club in 2022 will be Four Brothers. We will be doing Four Brothers.
It's gonna suck because in my mind I fucking love that movie.
The mind I love that movie.
In my mind I love that movie, but I know I'm gonna hate it.
I think Andre 3000 in my head that performance is the greatest performance of all time, and we're gonna watch it and be like, why is everyone in this movie doing anything that they're doing?
That was my first Mark Wahlberg movie.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Was it
no
my
Italian
first?
Job? I just didn't recognize him actually. I think Italian Job was.
I think
you know what,
I
Che,
saw Boogie Nights before that.
We are very long, and I kind of want to touch on some general nerd
thoughts. Yes. Go for it. We don't need to talk
before
about
this movie's over.
now.
So, at least to me, my impression of how I got three things I want to talk. Well, let's say two for now. So it's very clear to me that Marvel seems to be splitting up its heroes. We've gotten the hint that Samuel L. Jackson's in space at the after. I don't remember which after credit scenes it was, but he's in space right now.
Captain Marvel, right? Wouldn't it have been?
Maybe, I don't remember. Captain Marvel's obviously in space. We now have our entire Eternals team in space. Who else? Things about it. I mean, there's in Guardians, obviously. So there's a
Guardians
whole
and Thor.
And Thor, yeah, exactly. So there's a whole space side of shit going on out there. While we're still having some heroes on Earth, I don't think it's an accident to take a lot of our super strong characters off of the planet Earth. Mm-hmm. There's no really big heavy hitters anymore on Earth, except for the Hulk.
Who's not really a heavy hitter anymore.
Exactly. But I mean, he was regular Bruce Banner at the end of Shang-Chi. So, I mean, that's an interesting note as well. Do you think this is intentional? Do you think we're going to get a weird split of the Marvel Universe where we'll have because I mean, we already kind of peaked with Thanos.
Well, as I said, I think the first up until Endgame, from Iron Man to Endgame, is much like the Skywalker saga is the science saga of the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
And after the end of Endgame, we entered the magic saga. And no longer are we making up fake science to explain things. Things are just ethereal, they're celestial, they're from another world, they're magic. Even right? And Doctor Strange and the Eternals and Captain Marvel are our most important characters going forward. And I also think, yes, it makes sense that we get that line in Endgame that I think is what's sort of the crux of what's going to be happening going forward with the MCU, is where Captain Marvel is on the shitty Zoom call about how to handle the end of the world. And
I would hate that if we were living in the pandemic and they're like, all right, everybody, get on your full ass costumes and stand around a room. You see me in my pajamas being like, yo, what's up, man? This meeting's at 11 a.m. Come on, come the fuck on.
But she says, when they're like, where have you been? She's like, there's billions of other worlds out there and none of them have Avengers to protect them, right?
Yeah.
So we're now entering the world in which we're going to be, and also a lot of that is just the logistics of it. The early Marvel movies did not have the massive budgets or ability to pull the same level of talent that the future ones do, and now you can really invest in a storyline that exists in outer space or exists in the magic realm or whatever.
And I think it's also a really cool idea as well to be you have all these two different sides of things. Mm-hmm. So whenever we do get we have a lot more room to build up to whatever they want to do as a bigger threat. I mean, obviously we have Kang, but I don't think Kang is I think Kang's gonna be a fucking problem. Yeah. But I don't really know. I don't know if he's gonna be like Thanos level problem. Well, maybe
I think. Sorry, go ahead.
I just think they like maybe building up to something that's going to be like both like this is bad for space and this is bad for Earth kind of situations, and eventually it's going to like collide into one thing, because we also still have a couple like down the line. They still say we still have like Fantastic Four. I was going to bring up Blade in a second, but yeah, we have like a bunch of other things too. But what were you going to say, Che? I'm sorry.
Well, I think the oh no, I'm definitely going to forget. Oh right, I think what they did is they probably learned from Thanos, which I think Thanos was an accident. They introduced Thanos, and then like 7 years later was the payoff. And because of that, it landed so well. We had, I mean, I know there's some people who, I guess, hate Infinity War and Endgame because
they're bad people.
Something about Captain America. I don't even really remember why.
Wait, what?
Hates those movies. I can't keep track of dumb people on the internet. It's too much effort. But
how dare you? His beard was majestic.
But much like the way they paid off that, I don't think we're going to get the Kang payoff for a long time, and I don't think we should. I kind of like having this big bad that
like looming over.
Yeah, and now we have like 3 of them, because one of them is a Celestial who's like judging Earth.
Yeah, I don't even know what I'm talking. Yeah, like they just showed a guy who's like the size. His head was the size of Earth, and was like, all right, I'm taking y'all. I'm gonna come judge y'all in a couple years, like in like a little bit. I'll be back. That's fucking horrifying. Cause I'm assuming everyone could just hear him being like, "Hey, what's up, motherfuckers? I'm gonna take them and kind of judge y'all for the last 7,000 years. Yeah. Guess what? Humanity fucking sucks. We're fucked."
There's a lot of in this movie. There's a lot of, do these people even deserve to be alive?
It's
a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, Chloe Zhao picked one, not her, I don't think she's responsible for the writing in this, but the writers of this movie picked the safest human injustice that they could, where they went back far enough, there's like, to the invasion of the Americas. But obviously, they could have easily had that scene, which is quite hard to watch, during World War II, or the Holocaust itself, or slavery. Or like we've just spent the last couple centuries, millennia, as humans, basically doing only the worst things to each other. And I think the movie is very much aware of that. And I think the MCU is interested in exploring that going forward. I don't think it's an accident. This movie is it's very diverse, and its characters itself are very diverse. I mean, I know Brian Tyree Henry himself is not gay, but plays a gay man, and I'm sure that upset a lot of people. The guy next to me,
everyone. There's a couple people in my theater.
Guy next to me was quite confused by that. He was like, "He's gay?" It's like, yeah, people are gay.
Yeah, people can be that. Yeah, it's like it's.
Also, he said it. He didn't realize the guy was gay until he kissed his husband. It didn't tip him off that he had a husband and a kid, and they lived together in a house together. It wasn't until they kissed that he like registered that they were gay. He was the guy next to me was trash. I wanted him to be launched into outer space.
I mean, send
his ass right into the sun.
Oh my god, fucking the weird sex scene too between Richard Madden and Jim and
was it weird? It was just like a sex scene.
It was just like a sex scene, but like first off, I'm like, it's such a weird thing. Like I don't really care.
PG-13 sex scene, which is like
it was just weird. I'm like in my mind, I'm like, are they having sex? I guess they're having sex right now. I don't think I've ever seen anyone like. Well, I feel like I've never like just like barely moved and also looking at it, I'm like, I'm gonna start saying things that. It just felt very strange.
I don't know how robots fuck. All right, I'm just.
I don't know. That's fair. Hey, listen. I listen. I don't know. They didn't know they were robots. They thought they were regular people, Che. They didn't know they were robots. Not their fault. It's like Westworld.
They also didn't think they were regular people, though. Let's be clear about that.
That's fair. But I don't know. I don't know how robots work. So we got the general shit like that. But the second after credit scene, didn't expect Blade this soon, or like at least like I mean we didn't see him obviously, but like,
do you think he was like even near that set?
No,
they were like, not. Hey, Mahershala, just like say these lines into your phone and text it over.
More, yeah, I think that's exactly what happened because I was just like in my mind, I'm like, if it was like if it was actually Blade, they would have showed him.
Yeah,
but I feel like at the same time they probably are still like figuring out what they want to do.
Well, I wonder. Yeah, I get that's a good point because it's enough. Like he has a distinctive enough voice that, and also they know Google exists. People are just gonna Google.
And Chloe Zhao like confirmed it on in an interview. Okay. She was just like, yeah, it's Blade.
So it's not like it was a secret. So I guess you're right. Like they just don't want to have to make the decision as to what he's gonna look like character design wise yet or something?
Like I'm like wondering if how like just gonna be like the black trench coat again, and I'm like I'm perfectly okay with them just doing that.
Yeah.
But just like in a way, it's like such like an interesting way like to even like introduce a character like that, where it's just like, oh, we're gonna get Blade for sure now, but also now you're gonna get like Kit Harington's gonna probably be his sidekick in this movie with his weird demon sword thing.
Yeah. Do you? I will have to admit I've never read any Black Knight stuff. There was a Black Knight book that got just started the other couple months ago. And I read like the first half of the first issue and I was like, this is bad, so I stopped. Do you know anything about the character?
I mean, basically he was like, I mean, he was an Avenger. I mean, basically he was like a descendant of the original Black Knight from King Arthur's court. He has a demon sword. It kind of fucks with him from time and time again. You're gonna get Kit Harington with a sword destroying vampires. I don't know what else you want. Kit Harington, magic sword, vampires. That's all you really need to fucking know from me.
Yeah, I love that. The path is death or something? What the box say?
Something.
The cost is death or something like that. I love an ominous box. It's
an ominous box with a big ass sword, and I'm like, okay. And
also,
like
I'm just excited that Kit Harington, although I guess technically this was not a good movie as far as reviews go, but he will be in a good movie in the future. I'm sure of that.
Yes.
I just thought his movie career was maybe DOA because Pompeii was truly unwatchable. And did he make that like he made something else?
He made some kind of like weird like I don't want to say it wasn't Witch Hunter. It was like some kind of like weird like it was like Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, the death of John F. Donovan, which was the
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was not good. You didn't miss anything.
I think at least with this it was like I think it's kind of the same thing with Chris Hemsworth. They were like, oh wait, this guy can be funny.
Yeah.
We should use this kind of situation. And I was like, okay, like the little bit I saw of this character, he seems like really fun. And if you're gonna pick somebody who's gonna be like the comic foil to Blade, who I'm assuming is gonna be very similar to Wesley Snipes, and I swear to God, if I don't get a fucking some motherfuckers want to skate uphill. I know I won't, but I don't know
why you said that. When you fucking nixed it as the last episode title. The last episode I pitched to you, motherfuckers always want to skate uphill as the episode title, and you nixed it. So how much could you possibly love the greatest piece of screenwriting ever if that was the case?
I didn't do that. There's no proof.
Will I have to post screenshots? I gotta post screenshots now. You try to gaslight me on the podcast?
Facebook.
You can't delete them.
I can't delete. You can delete chat. You can delete chats on it.
Yeah, not the ones that I sent to you.
No. Oh shit, you're right. Fuck.
Were you actually trying to fucking delete it? Get out of here. Do we have anything else to say about this movie that we both thought was fun, but probably ultimately not very good? It's weird that everyone is losing their mind about it. If you like Marvel movies, go see it. Yeah. Unless you hate gay people and brown people, then stay the fuck home. And
I will say this to me. I keep in my mind. I classify this. It feels. I don't know if this makes sense to you. This feels like a superhero movie to me than I've seen in a long time. I felt more like I was watching like a sci-fi movie, if anything. Yeah. It didn't really feel very like superhero-y to me. It felt maybe because a lot of like the existential conversations with it. I mean, there were like the good fight scenes, but to me, I don't know. I just kind of felt like it was less superhero-y than I've seen in a long time.
It's the first time we've had a team movie with a bunch of characters that we didn't know, where most of them weren't like yes, Guardians of the Galaxy is a sort of a team movie, but it's basically a Peter Quill movie with a supporting cast. But like this is the first time we've had an actual team movie that's supposed to be structured much like the Avengers or Justice League if it was good. And we also have to spend a lot of time introducing the characters. I think that's why you get this very somber tone to the opening of the movie. And then it decides at the beginning of the third act it's going to be a traditional superhero movie, which I think was kind of the worst choice. I think you should just stick with the weird tone, and this movie's really good. It maybe is probably not as successful with the audience, but again,
I did think the fights at the
very... What they think.
Agreed. I do think the fights at the end were pretty good, though. I thought the Richard Madden, like...
Everything looks really cool.
Yeah,
the problem with this movie is not how it looks. It's that it's 9.5 hours too short. That's the biggest problem.
That's very, very true.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've held our audience captive for very long, even for us.
There's no shot to listen to this whole thing. There's no shot.
Not at all. Oh my fucking God. This might be our longest episode ever. It's up there. Not the long. It's up there. Well, Che, anything else to say before?
No, I absolutely do not. We literally can't say anything else.
My mouth is like fucking dry. All right. Well, I've been Cory.
I've been Che.
See you next time.
Bye.